Hello and welcome to Witchy Wellness Radio. I'm your host, Loren Cellentani, women's holistic health coach and fellow recovering perfectionist. This podcast was created to show you that your body is not in the way, it is actually leading your way. I am very particular about the type of CBD and hemp products that I use. There's so much hype and lack of testing and quality in the industry. So the company that I love and use is Evo Hemp. Not only do they have a beautiful product like hemp seeds, CBD oil, gummies, even hemp chocolate, protein bars, protein powder, they also support a 40-acre co-op farm in Minnesota, which is farmer-owned, focusing on bringing equality and innovation back to Black, Indigenous, and other socially disadvantaged farmers. So if you are looking into trying any type of CBD or hemp products, head over to evohemp.com. The link is in the show notes, and make sure you use code WICHY, WICTHY, for 20% off of your purchase. Now that we talked about why this is actually a blessing and not a curse, how can we actually harness this power? I kind of teased you a little bit, but here is the actual process. So either now or later, take the time. I know you might not be on your period. I am not right now. But this is one of the first things when I work with anybody to ask them to do, and this is a very simple but effective trick. So whether you're on your period or not, every night this week, write down the emotions, just the emotions of how you felt. So go through your day before you go to bed, visualize what happened and how you felt. Don't write down what happened. Just list the actual emotions, like frustrated, happy, supported, victim. What are the actual emotions that are coming up for you? And then at the end of the week, go back through all those pages and see, are there any themes? Because 9 times out of 10 there are, and especially if you are doing this on the week before your period, you can do it the week before and your period. There will be a theme that's coming up because there's part of your pain body that is ready for you to look at and ready for you to heal. And when we can get to this part and we start to see a theme of maybe victimhood or not heard, then it doesn't matter if it happened this lifetime, another lifetime, or if you actually can remember the first time you felt like this. But what I like to do is sit down, take a few minutes to breathe, relax, put on some meditative music, and start to talk to myself, talk to my inner child. When did I first feel this feeling of not being heard? Some of us might have a lot of early childhood trauma. Some of us might have grown up with the most loving and supportive parents like I did. But we still, as little kids from the ages of 0 to about 9 years old, were a subconscious sponge, which means we picked up things from our family, culturally, from the world, from school, that built this subconscious 90% of our brains. And sometimes those things aren't correctly wired. Or sometimes you feel like you weren't being heard, but your parents were working or they were tending to another kid, and it wasn't because they didn't love you, but they were just trying to do their best. So when you can get to a point where you remember when you first felt this as a little girl, you can just see how confused or how simple this little girl was and send her so much love and realize that this 9 times out of 10 was not anybody else's fault. And it's ready for you to process it. And a really easy way that I process, and I use my journal for this, is I like to acknowledge it. That, hey, I'm feeling not heard right now in my life. And you can journal about what's coming up, the actual situation or the events that were coming up to make you feel like you're not being heard. You can write about when you felt like you weren't being heard when you were a little girl. And the next part is to accept it. And this is kind of the hardest part Release that you can't control this. This is the surrender part. When we can accept that I'm not being heard, what you're doing is accepting that you can't control anybody else who hears you. All you can control is how you feel. And you can accept that this little part of your little girl, that this doesn't have to go on anymore. And we shift into being grateful, and you can write about how grateful you are for you learning this about yourself, that you don't have to live this way anymore. This does not have to be a program that creates your reality. This is not an emotional addiction that you want to fulfill any longer. And you can actually start to write a new story and start to use this process and say, I remember when I started to realize that I was feeling not heard. And I'm so grateful that I was able to understand why this is coming up for me now. And this is how I started to feel XYZ, and actually start to write as if the future already happened, because hindsight is 20/20. So when we can get to this point, we are able to gain the wisdom underneath all of these emotions, able to feel it, to process it, to accept it, and write this new story. But this doesn't mean that it's going to be gone forever. No. When we start to reprogram, we can start to reparent ourselves, because there's a point of feeling and releasing and processing that we just went over, but there's going to be times when you're going to feel not heard again. You're going to feel triggered. And it's up to you and your own judgment and intuition. And if you need to process it more, or if you need to refocus, retrain your brain, go general to something else, and just shift your focus to something that feels better. And like I said before, everything is a cycle. And if you don't bleed or you're not on your period, it does not matter. You can tune in with a moon cycle. It's also very, very powerful energy to align yourself with. Have you taken the anxious personality quiz yet? Real talk. Not all anxiety is created equal, nor can you manifest the same way with it. Yes, that's true. You can manifest with your anxiety. I created this quiz so you can figure out how your anxiety manifests in your life, your emotions, your thoughts, and your actions. And when we have more insight into what are triggers and how to catch them faster, we're able to make lasting change and amplify what we want to manifest in our life. You can find out your anxious personality type at anxiousquiz.com. Learn to embrace and manifest with your anxiety today. And lastly, what we're going to go over today are the top 3 ways that are holding ambitious women back, including self-sabotage, and how to stop them in their tracks, because we're only just a few tweaks away from actually living our dreams. Whew. All right. So the 3 ways that I know in my life and so many ambitious women that are holding them back from really living their dreams is, we talked a lot about emotions today, the meltdowns, the constant self-sabotage. I mean, this whole presentation is about how to access that pain body, which are those raw emotions that are trapped in the body, that are programmed, that we can reprogram, but we have to allow ourselves how to feel and to heal. And secondly, the not enoughs, which are the excuses, the worries, the thoughts, that disguise those emotions, those core emotions underneath, that keep us, holding us back from actually making the change in our life. And lastly, we can't trust ourselves, our intuition. And this is a biggie, because so many of us think surrender is a bad word, is a scary word. But how can you do anything differently if you're so controlling over yourself, your emotions of other people, that you can't even trust yourself? And the process of building trust in your intuition is a day-by-day step thing. But this is a huge, last but not least, way to hold you back if you can't trust yourself or your intuition. And the 3 ways or solutions on how we can actually work through those 3 ways of sabotaging ourselves that are holding ourselves back is to become the emotional powerhouse, to deploy things like we learned today in this training, and knowing how to harness the power of our emotions to propel us towards our dreams and not 500 steps backwards. So, understanding that the emotions are not in the way, they're leading the way. They are just simply messengers, whether they're good or bad, that are leading us to our dreams. This contrast, you might hear Abraham Hicks or Law of Attraction talk about contrast a lot. The contrast is guiding you. So if you feel depressed and you want to feel happy, you're not going to get that overnight. But the anger, from depression to anger, is going to feel good, and that is guiding you towards that happiness. It's not a punishment. It's not something that's always going to be there. If you know how to look inward, how to process, how to feel, and how to heal your emotions. And secondly, the not enough, those excuses we talked about, those worries that are holding you back. This is where I talked about the reparenting yourself before. You're able to understand how to really feel and process these deep core emotions that are programmed into our psyche. But what happens when you process this? This is just another thing that's just an autopilot. If you think of it, your brain as a computer, it's just a program that goes, oh, this made me feel this way. Click, I'm going to run this program in the background. When we get to this point, we have this awareness, we need to learn how to reparent ourselves. So be able to feel those emotions and gain that wisdom underneath, but also learn how to align when the shit hits the fan. Because listen, shit's always going to happen. You're always going to be triggered, but it's always, 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 always happening for you. Because you are the creator of your reality and everything is happening for you. If that's the only thing you take away from today, that will be more than enough to transform your life. And lastly, to become the awakened woman, a woman who deeply trusts herself and the universe to create not only her dream life, but to change this world. So, like I said at the beginning, what if this curse was actually the cure? And what if your deepest pains and your darkest moments were actually leading you towards your dreams? And this is why I created my group program, Manifesting Me, which takes these 3 top ways that ambitious women are holding themselves back: the meltdowns, the emotional, constant sabotage, the not enough, the why you can't change, the worries, the excuses, the cannot trust yourself and intuition. And I help walk you through and transform into that emotional powerhouse who knows how to feel and how to heal and how to process what's underneath and what's coming up. Divine discipline alignment, to know how to reparent yourself when shit hits the fan versus when to process and when to feel what's coming up. And lastly, to become that awakened woman, to know how to trust yourself and trust the universe, which I also call my business partner. To surrender it, let God, Jesus, the universe take the wheel as you keep showing up as you, because it's not about manifesting. This is my biggest thing. It's not about the fancy car. It's not about manifesting the dream partner or the dream career. It's about who you become in the process. Because at an energetic level, your soul is calling you forward to become a bigger version of you. And when you do that, there's ripple effects out across all of humanity, all of consciousness. And this is how we change the world, by putting yourself first, by doing the work, by feeling your emotions, because this is not changing your life. This is changing generations before you and timelines before you and generations to come. And this is why that I do the work that I do, and I'm so passionate about it. And look, I know I've been through a lot of this, but I do not know what your exact journey looks like. I would love to say I have all the answers. I don't. Because this is part of the process, is that you have to work through the process yourself to answer your own questions, because I can't tell you what works best for you, because that is not an awakened woman. So my program is a simple, easy, fun process that will help almost be like this guideline or this checklist to help you work through whatever comes up so that you can work with your emotions, so you can practice this divine discipline of reparenting yourself and becoming this awakened woman who's here for more and to bring and birth her creations into the world. And this program is, like I said before, you probably heard me say about 100 times, is for ambitious women wanting to make the change in their life, to actually find or to go after what lights them up, because this isn't about the 3D manifestations. This is about changing humanity, because it's going to take every single one of us to heal and to feel and to show up as our shiny, bright goddess selves for the world to change. This is not for people who want an overnight fix, who want an easy fix, because this is something that is a day by day, moment by moment process that will transform your life, but also takes extreme focus, dedication, and determination. But I know that you guys are up for it. So thank you so much for your attention today. I am so excited that you guys, hopefully you took a lot away about learning how to manifest with your period, but also that you remember you are the creator of your reality, and to ask yourself, where does this belief fall short? My program, Manifesting Me, is going to start the first week of December, which, if you can believe it or not, is just around the corner. And if you are interested in learning more, I will copy this in the chat here, but the link to sign up for a call is tinyurl.com/manifestingmecall. And I'm very particular about who actually is able to join this program, because this work dives deep, because this work sometimes can bring up a lot of stuff. I want ambitious women who are ready to make the change today, because it's going to be a group course with women who are here to support you, who are going to be vulnerable and sharing their own stories, but are going to be going through this process together, hand in hand. And every time I've gone through a mastermind or a group coaching program, that actually amplifies the change so much more. It's not about competition. It's about learning how powerful the sisterhood can be. You will not even realize how much you are missing this part of your life until you experience something like this. So the reason why I do my Manifesting Me information calls is I want to make sure I'm the right fit for you guys, and vice versa. I want to create a very immersive and supportive and loving community here, and for people who are ready to experience change in their lives. So thank you guys so much for coming on today. I hope you enjoyed what you learned, and until next time. And remember, open up, surrender, trust, and let your body lead the way.